A person's life is often compared to a book that they write themselves. Each chapter of this book is filled with new hopes, aspirations, and plans, but sometimes there is a feeling that the narrative has stalled. It's as if the pages are stuck together, and the reader returns to the starting point again and again. Desperate attempts are made to change the course of events. New acquaintances appear, new skills are acquired, and places of residence change. But some invisible force continues to hold back, like a heavy burden hidden between the lines. It is quite possible that the roots of this problem lie in the relationship with the mother. At first glance, this connection may seem unobvious, but the eminent psychologist Carl Jung identified a profound influence of the maternal figure that many underestimate. Ignoring this relationship can lead to a vicious circle of insecurity, fear, and inexplicable emotional pain. According to Jung, the relationship with the mother is not limited to childhood years and memories. Rather, it is the first line in the book of life, setting the tone for the entire subsequent narrative, determining choices, relationships, perception of oneself, and the surrounding world. If you have ever felt that, despite all your efforts, something is preventing you from moving forward, it is worth considering. Ahead lies a deep and comprehensive study of the influence of the maternal figure on a person's life and the realization of what needs to be understood in order to gain freedom and write your own story without restrictions. These are not empty promises, but reflections that can change your view of yourself and your place in the world. Get ready to embark on this transformative journey. The mother is the foundation of human existence, like the first page of a fascinating novel. From the first moments of birth, she becomes a guide to the unknown world. Her role is not limited to giving life. She is a blank slate on which the outlines of personality begin to appear. In Carl Jung's concept, the mother appears as an archetypal image rooted in the collective unconscious. This all-encompassing symbol represents not only unconditional love, care, and protection, but under certain circumstances can also bear the imprint of depression, alienation, or excessive control. Like the first frame of a picture, she shapes the perception of oneself and the surrounding reality. The influence of the maternal figure is truly colossal, since it is through her that a sense of love and acceptance is formed. A child surrounded by affection, support, and freedom grows up with the conviction that the world is a space for self-expression. However, if the relationship is overshadowed by criticism, emotional distance, or high expectations, it leaves indelible scars that manifest as insecurity, fears, and a constant desire for approval. These marks, rooted in childhood, turn into invisible threads that determine life choices, relationships, and even self-esteem. Surprisingly, this influence often remains unconscious, like an old draft dictating every action. Why is a person sometimes inclined to choose paths that lead to a deterioration in well-being? Why does a feeling of inner emptiness arise which seems impossible to fill? And why, even with significant achievements, does a feeling of dissatisfaction not leave, as if something vital is missing? Carl Jung, an outstanding Swiss psychologist and philosopher, offers an explanation rooted in the depths of the human psyche. According to him, the image of the mother, in all the diversity of its symbolic meaning, continues to exert a powerful, albeit often unconscious, influence on the life of every person. This internal voice of the mother subtly shapes the course of events, determining actions and decisions while remaining almost unnoticed. Until a person turns to rethinking these deep-seated attitudes, they will continue to predetermine their life path. However, as Jung emphasized, it is not at all about blaming the mother, portraying her as a villain, or seeking to break off relations. The Swiss psychologist offers a different, more constructive approach to look at this relationship boldly and honestly, to see in the mother not an idealized icon or a source of all problems, but a real person with her own difficulties, failures, and life history. Accepting this fact becomes the first step on the path to rewriting one's own history. Awareness of what is inherited from the mother allows you to make an informed choice, what to keep in your life and what to leave in the past, freeing yourself from destructive influences. It is important to understand how this maternal influence manifests itself in everyday life and how it shapes the perception of oneself and the surrounding world. Unconscious influences of the maternal figure. A person often carries the imprint of a relationship with their mother without even fully realizing it. And it's not about a lack of maternal love, but about the fact that this connection has left indelible marks, subtly directing their life path. Jung astutely points out the duality of the maternal archetype. On the one hand, it is an image that provides support, reinforcement, and inspiration, and on the other, it is capable of limiting, making excessive demands, and projecting its own fears and doubts. When the negative side of the maternal archetype remains in the shadows, it acts like an invisible thread, subtly influencing a person's choices. For example, difficulties arise in making independent decisions or in openly expressing one's thoughts and feelings. A person unwittingly seeks approval from those who remind them of their mother, a colleague, partner, or mentor. Or they feel an inexplicable heaviness when trying to follow their dreams, as if being true to themselves is tantamount to betraying someone. These signals are not accidental. They are echoes of relationships that require reflection and understanding. Another clear sign of internal distress is a feeling of inexplicable emptiness, even in the presence of all the attributes of a prosperous life. It would seem that there is work, a circle of friends, hobbies, but in the depths of the soul there is a sense of detachment, as if an important detail is lost. This emotional void often stems from a long-standing unmet need to be accepted unconditionally without having to adapt to other people's expectations. Until a person realizes this need, they risk seeking its satisfaction in external factors, career achievements, romantic relationships, or public recognition, although in reality, only they themselves are capable of filling this void. As Carl Jung wisely noted, true freedom comes when we bring our shadows into the light of awareness. This process involves an honest look at the maternal figure, without idealization or indiscriminate accusations. It is important to express gratitude for what was given, but also to recognize the pain that had to be experienced and the limitations that were imposed. This is not about cherishing grievances, but about giving vent to feelings that have long been suppressed. Only in this way can one be freed from their power. Gradually comes the realization that a person is capable of writing a new chapter in their life, not repeating past mistakes and not bearing the burden of someone else's guilt. Let's consider what steps can be taken on this path to healing. Striving for authenticity. Individuation as a process of self-knowledge. Carl Jung defined individuation as the process of liberation from external influences as a path to the realization of one's true essence. This is not a simple journey, but rather a deep discovery of the true self, free from the masks that were put on for the sake of approval and from the rules learned to conform to social norms. This process is like finding one's own unique handwriting after years of imitating someone else's style. This path requires courage to look inside oneself and meet those aspects of personality that were formed under the influence of fear, guilt, or the desire to please others. In the process of growing up, under the influence of the mother or the established idea of her, people often create artificial versions of themselves. For example, a person may have learned to be a peacemaker, avoiding disputes, or, conversely, an independent person who never asks for help just to gain favor or avoid conflict. Such artificial selves are like tight clothes that continue to be worn out of habit. Individuation is an opportunity to abandon these clothes, to ask oneself the question, who am I when I do not strive to meet someone else's expectations? An important step on this path is to realize how a person projects the image of the mother onto other people. Perhaps they expect from their partner the love that was lacking in childhood, or hope that the boss will recognize their merits, as their mother once did not. These expectations shape relationships that limit personal growth, as a person seeks outside what can only be found within themselves. Genuine changes begin when a person begins to listen to themselves, satisfy their own needs, and provide themselves with the support they have always needed. Looking at the mother as a starting point of personal history and not as its completion, opens up new horizons of self-knowledge. It is she who gives the first page of life, but the further filling of the book is the exclusive prerogative of her child. Manifesting empathy for the mother, understanding the challenges she faced, and recognizing the boundaries that she may not have been able to overcome, plays a key role here. When the image of the mother ceases to be idealized or demonized and appears as the image of an ordinary person with their weaknesses and strengths, liberation comes. This allows one to dream, love, and live a full life without repeating the mistakes of the past. Turning these reflections into concrete actions is an important step on the path to self-determination. Individuation is not merely an abstract concept, but a reality manifesting in every decision made, in every moment of choosing to be true to oneself. There are simple ways to begin freeing oneself from the subconscious influence of the mother. First and foremost, it is necessary to listen to one's emotions. In moments of anger, sadness, or fear, it is important to pause and ask oneself, is this a genuine feeling or an echo of the past? These emotions can serve as a key to understanding wounds related to the mother. Keeping an emotion diary can help identify certain patterns. Creating personal space is also of great importance. Allocating time for oneself, whether through writing, meditation, or simply reflection, allows one to ask, what thoughts are stopping or judging me? Often these thoughts are a reflection of what was heard in childhood. Gradually replacing these thoughts with words of support and kindness, as if one were a supportive friend, promotes healing. Releasing oneself from feelings of guilt is another important step. If guilt arises from wanting to be different from the mother or from seeking one's own happiness, it is worth asking, whom am I trying to appease? Abandoning these emotional debts is crucial. One is not obligated to carry the burden of one's mother's sorrows, for one's story is one's own. Observing one's relationships also plays an important role. It is necessary to pay attention to the people who surround oneself. Do they remind one of old painful dynamics? Does one feel trapped, overly demanded, or devalued? Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward change. Sometimes it is necessary to be alone to hear one's own voice and determine one's own path. Imagine a symbolic gesture, returning to the mother everything that rightfully belongs to her. The burden of fears, unmet expectations, and guilt. It is an act of gratitude for the gift of life, accompanied by a quiet but confident declaration of beginning one's own narrative. Such a ritual can have a profound impact on the subconscious, becoming a starting point for self-healing. Become a safe haven for yourself without expecting salvation from the outside. Bestow upon yourself the love, patience, and respect you have always craved. Each step of self-acceptance strengthens emotional resilience, granting long-awaited freedom. Let these changes not happen instantly. Over time, they will shape a new way of life, filled with ease and a sense of control over one's own destiny. The maternal figure will cease to overshadow everything, transforming into just one chapter of one's personal history, rather than its defining plot. In this freedom lies true beauty. Understanding and working through the influence of the mother opens new horizons. Problems do not disappear without a trace, but their weight becomes significantly less. It is akin to finally being able to write with one's own pen after years of writing with someone else's. Choices become more conscious, relationships become more genuine, and the attitude toward oneself is filled with love and acceptance. This freedom does not consist of erasing the past, but of using it as a foundation for creating something entirely new. There is an awareness that one can be different from the mother without feeling guilty, love without fear, and build one's life without repeating past mistakes. In interpersonal relationships, there is a re-evaluation of values. Instead of striving to find someone who perfectly complements, one begins to value those who accept and respect one as they are. In the professional sphere, self-confidence emerges, allowing one to openly express one's individuality without fear of judgment from colleagues. Even the body responds to these changes. Muscle tension and fatigue caused by suppressed emotions gradually recede. one gains an invaluable awareness of one's own worth, understanding that one's dignity lies not in perfection, but in the very fact of human existence, with its dreams, mistakes, and unique life experience. By freeing oneself from the influence of the maternal shadow, one begins to look at the women in one's life, mother, sisters, friends, with greater empathy. There is an understanding that each of them carries their own burden of problems and personal dramas, which contributes to the establishment of deeper and more sincere connections based on mutual respect and free from unmet expectations. In this, according to Jung, lies the magic of personal growth. By healing the relationship with the maternal archetype, one not only frees oneself but also contributes to the healing of past and future generations. One breaks the chain of inherited grievances and disappointments, creating instead a legacy of awareness, freedom, and love. It is important to understand that recognizing the influence of the mother is not a call to sever relationships or deny the past. It is about understanding how she specifically influenced the formation of personality and making a conscious choice regarding the future path of life. A person begins to notice how the maternal shadow manifests in their automatic choices, in the feelings they suppress, and in the rules they blindly follow without questioning them. However, healing comes through a courageous confrontation with these aspects, through consciously experiencing pain and accepting all the good that was in the past, while rejecting what no longer serves their development. Jung teaches that true healing is only possible through achieving wholeness of personality, accepting all aspects of oneself, both those that cause pain and those that bring joy, and those that have yet to be discovered. It is at this moment that a new story begins to form, a personal story that does not need external approval and is not burdened by the weight of the past. This is the story of a person who knows their roots but independently chooses the direction of their movement, guided by their own values and aspirations. This life path has no predetermined end. It is reflected in every decision made, in every day lived, but now the person has everything they need: the necessary tools, a clear understanding of the situation, and unwavering confidence in their ability to become the creator of their own story. If these reflections resonated with you, consider sharing them with those who may need support and inspiration. And stay close, because here, universal solutions are not offered, but only directions are indicated, along which everyone can find their own path. After all, deep within the heart lies the key to healing, awareness and understanding of one's mother. And when this happens, true freedom arrives.